In the time that I was experiencing uh, my family members, I became auditor. I became clairaudient. Now, when I met my twin, I was becoming clairsentient. Clairsentience, which is clear feeling, where psychics receive their nudges. And then when I experienced my family members, I started becoming aware of the clairaudience. And I was awakening. I awakened my best friend that I stayed with. He started getting the clairaudient messages. He met his twin. Um, the dreams, the clairvoyance was already there, because that was like the first thing that awakened, seeing the body of this being and not knowing what the face was on the being. um, Clairvoyance, which is clear sight. Claircognizance comes with clairvoyance, because you have to have the thought process of knowing how to to read the energy of the sight that you're getting, to understand the sight that you're receiving. So clear cognizance, clear thought, clear thinking. Um, but these energies start to awaken, and Spirit was asking me to be present at that time of experiencing my family members. And I was receiving messages to help me start a business and help me start a career, but I didn't understand at that time what I was receiving. So I spent a lot of time watching TV. And then one night that turned into morning, um, there was a family member that was just used to me being a certain way. And when I wasn't that certain way, they had other family members come over, and it was like a intervention. And this was like the second intervention of them, like, what's wrong with you and stuff, like, just unconscious ways of being. And when I realized at that moment that I was meant to experience that, that is the second part of the awakening. But the first part of the awakening was actually my twin, which is like me coming out. Because during the YouTube video, that's when I was speaking to people. Oh, I have a twin flame, and they have this going on in their life, and this is how I know that they're my twin flame. And when I did that, that was like me coming out and expressing that I was um, in this type of connection. But it's a sacred connection. But I didn't understand the sacredness of it. I didn't understand the mirroring of it. So I had to become aware of how to allow myself forgiveness so that I can be forgiving to other people. But when the second awakening, when I became aware of it and realized that my family couldn't really help me with this journey. And I did tell a family member that, did and is awakening spiritually. But even him knowing that some of these things were going on, it was only so much that he was helpful to in relation to these other family members who weren't as conscious. Now, when I went to the hospital, I noticed that they were trying to, admit me to like a psych ward or something. Like was some type of, like something was wrong with me. And I was just wanting to say, like, I'm present. So that created this fear to like run from it. Because every day, staying with certain family members, it was as if, I'm hearing my mom say, "You need to get a job. You can't sit up in here and not work." And I understand that from a three-dimensional experience, but because I was having a five-dimensional and six-dimensional experience, I was just present with hearing what she was saying, but knowing that there was a bigger picture going on with what I was going to create. I was reading books, and I wasn't even eating very much because, for one, I was feeling like a burden to these family members. And for two, I the initial start to my journey was knowing that I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease. And when I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease in the year 2013. And how I became aware of that is because I had a mass on my bum hole. And so that was removed. And after 2 years, it didn't go away. Actually, my ex fiance contracted the mass or the warts on his instrument. And so I realized, wow, did I cause this for this person? And so that was even more reason to release him. And so I did tell him that, I had this going on, but I didn't realize that it could be passed on. I didn't think that it was going to be passed on, but we sort of had started experiencing each other after the diagnosis. And the thing about it, when you do have a mass, it can, or a wart on your bum hole or your genital area, after 2 years, it will stop. You won't have any more warts in that area. But because I didn't know that, it was passed on to him. Now, I spoke about this on my old YouTube page, but now I'm speaking about it now. And I want to say that because of that, I started really becoming aware of Dr. Sebi's holistic healings and fasting, and I started a fast. But I started a fast to lose weight. It wasn't, no, actually, I did start it because of the warts, because I started researching. And then I told him after the breakup. So is that called like post breakup? Or like, yeah. But when I did tell him, I think I also told him from a place of anger. And, but no, actually, I was very calm. But there's so much that I can't say because it does involve a sacred part of the journey that I'm not going to speak of. But when I told him, and then I did tell him, like, if you drink enough water, they say if you drink, well, Dr. Sebi's teaching says if you drink water for 3 months and only water, that it will decrease the mucus in your body. And so then after the mucus is decreased in your body, you can start the healing of that area that is affected by whatever. Like, say if a person has high blood pressure, diabetes, or something like that, then they start focusing on that part of the body that is needing to be healed with electric foods. So anyway, I started fasting. I was fasting when I was staying with his mom, and from a person that was 244 pounds to a person that was 138 pounds or getting there, it was a big shift. And everybody thought that, oh, something's wrong because this isn't the person that I'm used to seeing that will tear a piece of chicken up, pork chop, pork, and all of these things. I had allowed myself to give up those things so that I could heal and so that I could be very aware consciously. And so now, you know, then I experienced prison. I experienced prison for the reason of trying to walk the 40 miles to get to the city that he was in. You can't say that ain't love, but that was also, I don't want to judge it this way, but it was kind of stupid. But the stupid part, it wasn't even stupid because there was a great message that happened with it. But anyway, sat on the bench after walking like 15 miles and was tired, and I sat on a bench that was considered. It had a sign that said no trespassing, and I didn't see the sign that said no trespassing at that time, and the cops pulled up. When I went to jail in the year 2020, my thought was, wow, I have never been to jail. And now I'm going to jail in the year of 2020 at that time because I wanted this love with this other being. And this other being is with a partner and not really thinking about me. But I didn't see it that way at that time. I didn't have enough self love to understand that this is what was happening because all I knew was that I had this experience happening with my family. And I was meant to be there to heal those things for myself. And after fasting for 21 days and people are just taking pictures to figure out who I am because I was just wanting to know how, not one, I was just wanting to know. I wanted to know how a person could go to jail that doesn't have a license. But if I would have been vocal with them and told them, hey, yeah, I just was walking to Colombia to go try to find this, to go to this, visit my twin, then, and I don't have my license because it was left in the hospital that was attached to my phone, like the phone cases to attach to the wallet case for this red phone that I had, and it was left in the hospital. Maybe they would have released. Maybe they would have released me with like some type of warning, but no, jail over that. And that town is also known to take people to jail. Now, when I fasted for 21 days in the year of 2020 in jail because they didn't have plant-based foods. Also, Rona was going around, so that was another reason to continue fasting. I might have heard the word fascinating. It was also a reason to continue fasting at that time. And so then they finally had this, they sent in a paper and said, do you know anybody that we can call? And I remembered his number, so I wrote his number down and they called him. Yeah, my twin. Like I said, I just wasn't aware that I didn't have enough self-love for myself. And so he said that, oh, well, I'll call my best friend. And so they released me. She came to pick me up. After that, stayed with her for a while, and I realized not much had changed. Some of these people were still unconsciously aware. And a lot of it was mainly because I hadn't allowed myself to just be free and freely accept myself for being a psychic medium and knowing that some beings just aren't conscious like you are. So after that, staying with that friend, she drove me back to the house of the person that called EMS. And there was sort of still resentment that was still built up because it was only a couple days, or like, well, no, it was a couple weeks. And so then I stayed in this house that I'm in now. But after I stayed in this house, I realized that, like I said, some people just hadn't changed. And because I was healing, there were some people that didn't understand that I they didn't understand what I was healing. And so they bought things that I wasn't wanting to consume, but they were thinking about, oh, well, he he's slim, he's really slim, he's skinny. So how can we help him gain weight? They were thinking of it from that perspective. So they were bringing meat, And no, at this point they were bringing plant-based food and water, and I was very well taken care of. But I realized that there was just some things being experienced that I just didn't understand. Now, I ran away from the experience because I just didn't understand what I was receiving at that time. And also because some of these beings were just so unconscious that I was wondering why was I having this conversation with these people if I'm meant to be experiencing this twin that I'm speaking of. But anyway, um, I was going to run away. I don't know, girl. I don't know where I was going to, but I was going somewhere. I was going to get the f up out of here. But Spirit was also trying to tell me that Rona was around at that time. Stay your ass at home is what Spirit was saying. But I just didn't understand that. So I said, I'm gonna get up out of here. So I started having access to cards, credit cards that I knew where to get them. And it was basically like stealing money from this family member that was, helping me and loving me. But I couldn't see past my own um, um, love for this twin flame. I couldn't see past the own veil that I had put up for myself. But also, I didn't understand the how Spirit was wanting me to not be. I wouldn't say not be comfortable with this soulmate, but he was also wanting me to become aware that I was on this divine path with my twin flame, and to not give up on the connection, but to be have full awareness that I am in the divine partnership. So when I had access to these cards, I started buying clothes because I didn't have clothes because I left the clothes in the storage after me and the best friend were evicted from the apartment. The clothes were in the storage, and just a lot of things that I had, a lot of material things. So I bought clothes, underwear, um, and after that, I was like, well, I'm doing good now. I'm doing real good. And so a family member told me that if I had my license, I could get, I could drive her vehicle. So I had my, what do they call it? A restricted license for well, it was a license for a 6 months license. And so I drove to go meet my twin flame. But I didn't tell her that I was using her vehicle the day that I was going to see him. I guess I was afraid of being, like the fear of being rejected, by taking her car and not asking her. And knowing that when you drive a person's vehicle, they want to know, where are you going? And I just didn't want that question to be asked. Anyway, went to see him. In the conversation, it was just not really. It was still like in that nonverbal place, but I didn't understand that Spirit wasn't wanting me to see them at that, well, not see them or visit them at that time. And I noticed that he was experiencing some things too, financially. And so, although I wanted to ask him, well, hey, can I stay with you for a while? I realized that, what in my mind, I was thinking, well, your mom already was telling me that, didn't want me to stay with them anymore, and he had got his own place, and he hadn't told me until like after he had got his place. But anyway, um, there wasn't much conversation between us. And so I realized that I had to really start letting go. And I was actually there to be like, well, I'm going to just allow you to do what you have to do, and I won't be contacting you anymore. But it just didn't happen like that. And it's hard to just say to yourself, oh, I'm not going to contact you anymore. Not going to happen. Anyway, I realized that he had experiences that needed to happen for him to show him that he has a divine counterpart. And so there was this, uh, we had, it was just very minimal talk. And I know that he felt like it was kind of like this awkward feeling because uh, I had started communicating from what I felt was like this. It could have been spiritual ego because when you do become aware of divine truth, it can build up like that spiritual ego, like, oh, I know everything about the spiritual world. But you have to become aware of how you're allowing people to experience you. And so, um, we had very few words, but the time spent was very, it was needed for myself, but I'm not sure that it was needed for him because he wasn't really dependent on having me in his experience. So, um, and also I was leaving early, so it wasn't a lot of time. I was leaving so that I could return the vehicle to the owner of it. And so she she had called the cops because she was like, "Well, who like who stole my vehicle?" And then she voiced who took the vehicle, which was me, you know. But I was like, "Well, you told me if I had my license that I could drive the vehicle, right?" So anyway, she actually called a family member again, and I understand because if a person would have done that to me, I probably wouldn't have had the same reaction because I would have remembered what I said. But not everybody is going to be the experience of you. Like, not everybody is going to react or respond the same way you would. So I understand. Anyway, I was learning. And then there was another same type of experience where this family member said that, oh, well, your mom was saying that you have if you have if you had your license that you could have drove her vehicle. So well, she was gonna let you drive her vehicle, is what she said. And so I just took that as the go. And so because I had those difficult experiences in 2020, I thought that, oh, well, it's time to get up out of here. I gotta go. I gotta go, is what I thought, right? And so I, in the morning, packed most of the things that I had, well, pretty much everything, which fit into a small SUV. And I was going to the beach. I needed a vacation at that time. I needed to get away. And after that, I didn't know where I was going to go. But I know I was going to get the F up out of her. You know what I'm saying? And so I realized that it was a cycle that was repeated because I didn't ask my mom for her, could I drive her vehicle? She called the cops. Um, there was an accident in Myrtle Beach where the truck hit the SUV that I was driving that pushed the SUV into a car. And the because the vehicle was stolen, went to jail again in the year of 2021, February 28th, and stayed in the jail till July. What actually it was like June something, I think, that they transported me back to the hometown and had to be in jail for the third time, but a different jail, and was released on July 10th in 2021 to then return to the hospital. I've mentioned in a previous video that on the release day of prison, there was a correctional officer when I was in the wheelchair in the prison. He lifted up the wheelchair and my head hit the back of the back of the brick wall, and I just, because these experiences were happening, I thought, well, is this some type of karma for, taking the vehicles? But I realized that regardless of whether it was karma or not, it was experiences that happened that were allowing me to understand the cycles so that they weren't repeated. Now, within the 4 months in the jail that was in Myrtle Beach, Horry County, I became very clairaudient, like very clairaudient. Like there was a clairaudient boost, there was a boost in clairvoyance, claircognizance, all of those things, and again fasted in prison in the year 2021. And I also realized at that time that I had to make there was a addictive pattern that had to stop. And the addictive pattern was from fasting. I was fasting and trying to, I'm not even sure what the goal was, trying to achieve this like very healthiness about my body. Like the over to be, because the overachiever in me was like just like I gotta do it. I forget what they call that word. I was creating this pattern of continuing to, fast. And then that pattern broke in prison because after a certain time, your body starts to function differently. And pee was very yellow at that time from dehydration, not drinking enough water in prison because my body was rejecting it, and then my body was rejecting the meat. But then my body got readjusted. So then I started eating meat again. And then because I came back home, they were trying to allow me to start gaining weight. So they started bringing meat products. And they were like, oh, well, you're not vegan anymore. But I was trying to be. But I realized that even in that trying, that I hadn't fully let go and just allowed the experience to be what it is. Because part of the human experience and part of being in alignment is allowing yourself to love yourself and allow yourself to enjoy life, enjoy the foods that you enjoy. So now I'm in this place of understanding that I enjoy food that is of meat. I enjoy food that is of plant-based meat. Primarily, I eat plant-based, but if I enjoy something, I allow myself to receive it, and I allow it to be fulfilling, lovingly. And I've also noticed that there has been other celebrities that have done similar things, and that was also like a connection that spirit was making with me. When I came back home, you know, I hadn't been walking much. I was the, I guess you can say like in my adult life, I was like 138 pounds. So that was like different, you know? But I realized that prison had this way of like, it had changed the way that of my thought processes. But I was very spiritually aware. Didn't have internet at that time, so I was walking to the grocery store, which is like 2 miles away from here. So then I was in this phase of breaking these patterns that were connected to prison, um, and just like eating at certain times and eating certain things, and knowing that uh, there were also spiritual things that didn't happen. And I noticed that there were certain family members that hadn't forgiven me for taking their vehicles and things like that. And to experience them and them not had to experience them and hear them not be forgiving, it was just that was also like another thing that put me in this place of not wanting to experience them, but I had to experience it. I tried to run away from it, and I still had to experience it. So there were other things that happened that put me in this place of not wanting to exist, and I had to allow myself to. The death card is coming up. You have to allow that old version of yourself to die and release full control. And there was a family member that touched my private part, and I'm not sure if that's considered sexual abuse or sexual harassment, but it happened, and I had to allow myself to understand how to experience them and communicate that it wasn't right, it didn't feel great, and because I'm clairsentient, sometimes that experience replays in my body, and I have spoken about it, and I wondered, are there people that can, help heal those type of things? And so, because many people didn't understand what I was experiencing, and when I would speak about these things, I would always get the message from Spirit to trust and remain in that, and remain in my stillness. It kind of caused confusion because I wondered, are these messages from these, is this like a pattern of what I need to relieve myself of? And the fear of speaking about it was arising, so I spoke about it. But I also didn't become aware of people that knew what was happening or how to relieve it. So I've been learning how to experience it and how to be in a acceptance of what is being experienced in the now moment. Um, so now there is, also to be grateful for the things that are being experienced in the now moment, like having uh, a bed to lay in, because the ex fiance took the mattress and the box spring. Um, but what I can say is that there's internet in the house. There is five bed. Actually, there's 7 beds in this house. Uh, the other bed, which would make 8, is without a box spring and a mattress. So 8 beds in the house. There's a tub to bathe in. The water isn't on yet because there is a leak outside. There's my sectional that I had from the house. So I did get some of my things. I did retrieve some of my things from the house that me and this ex fiance were staying in. And there's 3 chairs, 3 extra chairs. Well, no, 5 extra chairs. And that are like sofas, 5 chair sofas, I guess you could say. But I do have a way of getting water, and I've been financially helped with some family members and things like that. And it's just that part of knowing that sometimes you have to be forgiving of yourself and allow yourself to um, forgive those beings that have hurt you because you have hurt them. And forgiveness is very important to the journey. And also knowing that things couldn't happen without the allowance from spirit for it to happen. Yeah. And so, what I could say about being gay or being a homosexual or whatever, and, you know, African American psychic medium is that thing of knowing that some people are going to receive you very well. Some people are unconscious and have this unconscious way of thinking. So experiencing you is, you know, a bit much for them because maybe they aren't in the belief that um, beings who are uh, beings who are homosexual or identify as gay can exist. We do have experiences of a counterpart that is the same sex as us so that we can be the representation of unconditional love. Unconditional love is the thought of it is you loving them without condition, without the judgment of them being in a vessel that society, you know, well, with them being in the same gender as you, and society saying, oh, well, that's not right because, you know, man should lie with, man shouldn't lie with man as with women. But what I think about that is if we are spiritual beings living a human experience, then feminine energy and masculine energy are meant to be congruent. And so spirit is telling us that that is our purpose. Who are we going to listen to? The being that's unconscious, that's not experiencing these messages from it, or the being that is conscious, that's receiving the message about their experience that is telling them that this other being is their partner, is their teacher, is their love, and is their other half. And is a part of the unconditioning that helps you to realize that the purpose is to break those conditional viewpoints. It is that purpose. And when one or the other counterpart denies or tries to run away from that experience, it's just a reminder that brings them back to the knowing that they are meant to serve that purpose. So what I have, what is it being experienced now, or the question that I could ask spirit if when we have conversations is, what does it mean when your counterpart isn't um, when your counterpart isn't awakened as their counterpart and they are experiencing soulmates? Is it okay for their counterpart to experience soulmates? But then I also think about how uh, the purpose is to awaken us to spirit. And so after that's done, is there something else that needs to be done? Because we're reminded about each other, but the purpose is already served. But what I can say is that I'm very grateful for this journey. And for y'all that want to know how I actually came out, it's simple. Uh, I spoke to a best friend that I called or responded to as a god sister. You know, like if their parent dies, then you know their mother or your mother would take care of that child, like the godparent. Told her that I was a homosexual, She told her mom that she and I both were homosexuals. My mom had picked me up from high school that day. Said you better not touch your brother. Homosexual. But no, seriously, she did. She did say, I don't want you touching your brother. And I think that a lot of parents have that idea of, because the the homosexual community is looked at for some reason as being the carriers of um, certain, you know, things, and considered to be, well, disease is what I was going to say, and considered to be some, for some reason, like child molest, you know, the gay community is sometimes viewed as these dark entities, and we have evolved from those type of viewpoints. And not saying that there aren't people in the world that are like that, because there are. But anyway, that was what was said. And, since then there has been forgiveness, because they just aren't aware of how it affects you, right? But anyway, not of how it affects you, but how words can, can stick sometimes. Certain words can stick, and you have to learn how to wash it off and release those things that have happened in the past. And that's why it's so easy to talk about it. Because when I've talked about it in the past, people are like, oh, I'm so sorry that happened. But totally just, I've been openly gay with her. She accepted my ex-fiance, and then realized that he maybe was, just not for me, because I was experiencing somebody else. And so she's been very, accepting of who I am, as a homosexual. But when I am then mentioned that I am a psychic medium, that was like another, stick in the road. But anyway, we've gotten past that. Um, she, I went home. She took me to my aunt's house, which is like the other house besides this one, and she was like, at that point, she, I think I started denying it, but I have always known that I have enjoyed men the same way that men enjoy women. Like they know that they're attracted to women, and some of them know that they are attracted to trans women and men. Some men just men have to allow themselves to be fully aware of how to accept themselves. But anyway, let's get back to the story. After that, I think truly being openly gay or considered a homosexual is my when me and my ex fiance were together, and that was in the year of 2014, when he moved to South Carolina, and we planned on getting married. And I realized that I had a twin flame, which was the reason that I decided to depart from the relationship. And so hopefully he, you know, is in a place of forgiveness now. Hopefully, I know that he's moved on. So I don't think that he was really hung up on the relationship. And so now I am single. This kind of sounded like bougie, like single. Like y'all know how y'all be saying Tarjay, single. Mm-hmm. And so yeah, single, homosexual, and good pussy cat, good grip. Grr. Yeah, but I've been in this place of forgiving things of the past, but I know that I there are people that may not have or may not be in this forgiving space of who I am today. And I have to be aware of that too. And I have been aware of that. I am aware of that. So that is the coming out story of a psychic medium. There is so much more that I could say, but I will end the video with this. If you don't accept you, who else is going to accept you? And you may be the catalyst for another person accepting themselves and being able to be authentic. And don't even think about it as maybe, think about it as you are. Sometimes you have to have those tough experiences so that it can help another person realize that they're capable of doing the same thing. You are enough, you are loved, and be grateful for the experiences that you have, because you're going to realize that they were only preparing you for the bigger picture that Spirit has for you. Continue believing. That's the way that you manifest. You're going to be great. I love you.